Trump wanted to literally shoot demonstrators in the summer of 2020 as they gathered close to the White House. Now, we know about that because Trump's former Defense Secretary Mark Esper is coming out with a memoir, so he decided to sit on this information until he could publish his book. But nonetheless, here's what we know based on this upcoming memoir, which Axios received early review of. So former Defense Secretary Esper charges in this memoir that former President Trump said when demonstrators were filling the streets around the White House following the death of George Floyd, can't you just shoot them? Just shoot them in the legs or something. Now, of course, Americans have First Amendment protections. They are allowed to assemble, they are allowed to demonstrate. That is what was happening at that time. This is in June of 2020. But Trump didn't like their protests. Trump didn't like that the demonstrators were partly protesting him. So his big question was, can't we just shoot them? Now, I would love to hear from all of these podcasters on the right who have taken the mantle as free speech warriors, and all they focus on is like a small group of left-wing people on Twitter nagging them about their language. But fact of the matter is, when it comes to actual free speech violations in this country, or government officials who want to violate your free speech rights, a lot of them are on the right. On a state level, we have legislation in some cases that's been proposed, in other cases actually passed state legislatures that would allow for drivers to run protesters over if they're blocking the road. You have so many different examples of right-wingers banning books they don't like from public libraries, even if those books have not been assigned to students. But those are stories that are completely ignored. I mean, I highly doubt Rogan's gonna be talking about Trump wanting to shoot demonstrators on his podcast, but he will talk about how his feelings got hurt over a few people on Twitter nagging him about using the proper pronouns.
Yeah, so there's two elements to this story. First, the heart of the story, holy cow, a president of the United States suggested that we murder protesters. We just killed them. Now, when he said, why don't we just shoot them? And he said that repeatedly, apparently, according to the sources. And by the way, this is not just Esper, this is very important. It got vetted by dozens of people in the Pentagon, including people that were in the room when Trump was suggesting it. And none of them disputed it. It went to print and it got printed because it is true. So once there was pushback and they said, Mr. President, it's not really a good idea to shoot protesters in America. They have freedom of speech. They could ask for redress of their grievances. That's also in the First Amendment. That's exactly what they're doing. He said, all right, fine, why don't we shoot them in the leg? First of all, if you shoot people in the leg, a lot of them will die. Second of all, you're shooting them in the leg. Okay, it's mental, it's insane. And then people want me to have a conversation about whether you should vote for Trump. Oh, you don't like Biden, Biden didn't do enough. Right now, I have a healthy loathing of Joe Biden. But I'm not having a conversation about voting for Donald Trump when his instinct was, let's murder everyone protesting me. No. When he discussed imposing martial law and having military rule in America and ending democracy. No, this is not he said, she said. This is not 50-50, it's not even 90-10. Under no circumstances can that monster dictator wannabe ever be president or have any office again. But then the second portion is what Anna talked about. All you right-wingers, God, just say it. And now a lot of them have started saying it. There's this thing called a new right, and they're just saying it. Yeah, we want a dictator, we want a king. Because it's the hypocrisy is too much, even for them. They know they don't want freedom of speech. They know they don't want freedom. The minute anybody protests them, they're like, well, maybe we should murder them. You don't believe in freedom of speech. So it doesn't, name them all, it doesn't matter. Crowder, Tim Pool, Joe Rogan, you name them, okay? It doesn't matter. They're all cowards. They're all hypocrites. They will never call out their beloved Donald Trump because their fans will get mad at him. Oh, no, you cannot criticize the beloved orange dictator. Okay, then you're not for freedom of speech. You're not. So just shut up already, okay? Now, I don't mean shut up in the government sense. You could blabber all you want, but you're full of crap, and now you know it too. You never believed in freedom of speech. No one who believes in freedom of speech would ever support Donald Trump on this story alone.
And to your point, Cenk, I wanna get to just how many 4-star generals knew about this and might have had a problem with what Trump was demanding they do, but didn't say anything about it publicly, specifically Trump wanting to shoot demonstrators. So let's go to graphic 4 here. As part of the clearance process, the book was reviewed in whole or in part by nearly 3 dozen 4-star generals, senior civilians, and some cabinet members. Some of them had witnessed what Esper witnessed. And again, we didn't know about Trump wanting to shoot demonstrators until today, because Axios was able to review Esper's book, and Esper wasn't public about it until he was ready to publish his memoir. So there's, of course, that element to it as well, where the profit motive behind all of this allows for these government officials to withhold incredibly important information from the American people. This happened in June of 2020. You don't think that it was relevant for American voters to know what Trump was demanding that people do in response to protesters for the 2020 election? Now, obviously, Biden was elected anyway, but I would have liked to know this information. I'm sure a lot of voters would have liked to know this information ahead of time. And despite Esper's best attempts at placating Trump, serving as his lapdog, it's never good enough for Trump because they had a falling out anyway. And it was after Esper spoke out against Trump wanting to use the Insurrection Act in response to the protesters. He did so in a press conference. This was the moment that Trump decided to turn his back on Esper because Esper dared to speak out against something that Trump wanted to do. Let's take a look at the video.
The option to use active duty forces in a law enforcement role should only be used as a matter of last resort and only in the most urgent and dire of situations. We are not in one of those situations now. I do not support invoking the Insurrection Act.
And understand, the Insurrection Act would allow for the military to use its force against American citizens, people who are protesting. That is what Trump wanted.
Yeah, it's so easy to prove the right wing as hypocrites. So right now, I guarantee you, if they see that story, they're like, "Oh, what's the big deal, man? I'm glad that Trump fired Esper. He should have used the Insurrection Act, okay? That's what good, strong presidents do." Okay, great. So you want Biden to use the Insurrection Act and start rounding up all right-wing protesters?
The truckers?
Oh, no, that's government tyranny. That's government tyranny. We can't do that. Well, which one is it, goddammit? Do you want the Insurrection Act or don't you want it? How about martial law? That Trump wanted to do that. Every one of his advisors, and to be fair to them, we give you the actual news. Every one of his advisors said they'd quit if he declared military rule in America. Okay, but Trump wanted it. So is military rule good or bad? Because if it's good, can Joe Biden use military rule? Look, of course, the right wing has the comfort of knowing that Democrats are the weakest people on earth and that they actually believe in democracy. They know the Democrats are never going to declare martial law. They're never going to use the Insurrection Act. They're never going to shoot right-wing protesters. They know that, right? That's why they can say in comfort, yeah, Trump should do that to the left wing, but no one should ever do it to us, right? And so finally, again, I ask you, but what if it isn't Biden? Right wing, are you sure you want to set this precedent that the president can order the shooting of protesters? Be careful with the precedent that you set. Now, of course, they will say it's great when Republicans do it, and it's monstrous and tyranny when the Democrats do it. Okay, well, at least you know the right wing, as usual, liars, hypocrites, and monsters. These are facts. These are facts. Otherwise, say that Trump was wrong. You won't, because you can't. You just want to follow a dictator so bad. You're so weak that you're like, oh, please shelter me, orange dictator. The right wing disgusts me.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.